Welcome to Fairy Tale Teller, where timeless tales and forgotten folklore come to life. In this episode, we bring you the enchanting story of Lazy Land, also known as the Land of Cockaigne, a classic fairy tale collected by the Brothers Grimm. Join us as we explore the tale of Hans, a man who dreams of a paradise where no one has to work, only to discover the true meaning of hard work and fulfillment. This story is a wonderful reminder that while laziness might seem appealing, real happiness comes from effort and helping others. Once upon a time, there was a land called Lazy Land, or as some called it, the Land of Cockaigne. It was a place where life was perfect and luxurious, where everyone lived in ease without having to work. The fields were made of sweet, sugary delights, the rivers flowed with wine, and the houses were built of cakes and pastries. In this land, people never had to toil or labor. Food and drink were abundant and free for the taking. In Lazy Land, the weather was always perfect. The sun shone gently, and a cool breeze carried the scent of blooming flowers and ripe fruits. There were trees laden with roasted chickens and ducks, ready to be plucked and eaten. The lakes were filled with fish that would jump out and land right into your frying pan. Even the animals were content and friendly, offering themselves up for meals. In this land of plenty, there was no need to work. People lounged about all day, eating and drinking to their heart's content. They lay in hammocks strung between trees made of licorice, sipping from fountains of honey. There was no sickness, no old age, and no worries. Everyone was young, beautiful, and happy. However, there was one condition in Lazy Land. To enter and enjoy its pleasures, you had to lie still and do nothing for 3 whole days. This test ensured that only the truly lazy could gain entry. Many tried and failed, as the temptation to move or do something was too strong. But for those who succeeded, an eternity of leisure awaited. One day, a poor man named Hans heard tales of Lazy Land. Tired of his hard life and endless work, he decided to find this paradise. He asked around the village and gathered every bit of information he could find about this mystical place. After much planning and preparation, he set off on a long journey, filled with hope and dreams of a life without labor. Hans traveled for many days and nights, crossing rivers, climbing mountains, and walking through dense forests. He faced numerous hardships on his journey, but the thought of Lazy Land kept him going. Finally, he reached the gates of Lazy Land. The gates were enormous and made of the finest chocolate, adorned with jewels of candied fruits. Hans lay down at the entrance, determined to pass the test. For 3 days and nights, he did nothing but lie still. He fought off the urge to move, to stretch, and even to scratch an itch. His determination was strong, and when the 3rd day dawned, the gates opened with a grand, welcoming sound. Hans was greeted by the sight of a magnificent land filled with all the delights he had heard of and more. First, Hans was overjoyed. He feasted on the delicious foods, drank the finest wines, and lounged in the warm sunshine. Life was perfect, just as he had dreamed. The people of Lazy Land welcomed him warmly, and he quickly made many friends. They spent their days sharing stories, eating, drinking, and relaxing. There were endless feasts and celebrations, with music, dancing, and laughter filling the air. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Hans continued to enjoy the luxuries of Lazy Land, but as time passed, he began to feel restless. With nothing to strive for or achieve, he found himself growing bored and unfulfilled. The endless indulgence lost its charm, and he longed for the satisfaction of a hard day's work and the joy of earning his keep. Hans noticed that the people around him, despite their smiles and laughter, also seemed to lack a sense of purpose. They were caught in a cycle of indulgence and idleness, with no goals or aspirations. He realized that while Lazy Land seemed like paradise, it was actually a trap of comfort and monotony. The laziness and indulgence were sapping their strength and spirit. Determined to leave, Hans bid farewell to his new friends and set off back to the gates. The journey out of Lazy Land was much harder than the journey in. The once welcoming gates now seemed to resist his departure. Hans had to muster all his remaining strength and willpower to push through. As he walked away from the gates, the landscape of Lazy Land slowly faded behind him. When Hans returned to his village, he was a changed man. He embraced his work with new vigor, finding joy in his daily tasks and pride in his achievements. He shared the lessons he had learned with his fellow villagers, teaching them that true happiness comes from purpose and effort, not from endless leisure. Hans told them about the people he met in Lazy Land and how they seemed happy on the surface but were actually unfulfilled and trapped by their own laziness. His story inspired the villagers to work harder and appreciate the simple pleasures in life. They realized that it was their struggles and efforts that gave their lives meaning and satisfaction. And so, Hans lived a fulfilling life, appreciating the value of hard work and the simple pleasures it brought. The tale of Lazy Land became a legend in the village, reminding everyone that while dreams of ease and luxury are tempting, true contentment comes from a life well lived. Hans's experience taught them that challenges and efforts were essential to a meaningful and joyful existence. Thank you for listening to Lazy Land. Stay curious, stay kind, and keep listening.